Stupid drivers caught on camera. If you drive, it's almost a certainty that you will have, at some point in your driving history, come up close and personal with an idiot driver. Sometimes it's not too bad, and you can have a laugh and shake your head and drive away from it. Other times, it might leave you so scared you don't want to drive again. And still, other times you may end up in the hospital because of other people and how they choose to drive their cars. Here are a few examples of idiot drivers. But before we start, we would appreciate if you like this video and subscribe to Couch Surfers, because we always bring something more entertaining and up-to-date for you. Let's start without wasting any time. But be prepared, because some of these are horrible to watch. Trucks can't swim. While it's well known that trucks are indeed significantly more useful off-road than normal cars, that doesn't mean they're totally undefeatable, as this video proves. Unfortunately, it seems the driver of this truck didn't get the memo and assumes that his big truck is actually part boat, attempting to cross what appears to be a river, as if it were a mere puddle. Thankfully, everyone is able to scramble to safety after the river begins to flood the truck completely, but this was an incredibly stupid way to risk his family and lose his truck at the same time. Beating the heat. Showcasing American ingenuity at its best, this video will give truck owners all sorts of ideas. Seemingly trying to keep cool, the owners of this truck have converted the bed into a mobile pool. By lining the bed with what appears to be a tarpaulin and filling it with water, they've created a rudimentary pool on wheels. While it seems to have survived the trip to the restaurant intact, a sudden stop after pulling away from the window results in a tidal wave of water and predictable hilarity. Clearly, these pool dwellers will stick to conventional paddling pools next time. Abandoned car. Sometimes, words cannot quite describe the level of absolute stupidity seen on the internet. This clip is a perfect example of that level of stupidity. The driver of this car appears to swerve, brake check the car behind, and then casually abandon the car while it is still rolling. The driver then simply walks down the central reservation on her phone in complete serenity, as if ditching her moving car is somehow an everyday occurrence. Unfortunately, her stupidity didn't only affect her. The car was clearly ditched while still in drive and proceeds to veer across both sides of the carriageway, striking an oncoming vehicle before this clip cuts out. This driver nearly needed their own ambulance. For most people, flashing lights, sirens, and a luminous green-yellow paint scheme is enough to alert them to the presence of emergency vehicles. Seemingly, that's not the case for this driver in the UK, who chose to pull out in front of an ambulance who was clearly on their way to an emergency call. Thankfully, the ambulance managed to stop in time, but those extra few seconds can sometimes be literally the difference between life and death for a patient. So let's hope this driver's terrible judgment didn't cause any knock-on effect. Ferrari California crashed while on test drive. Crashing your supercar is a painful experience. But what about crashing one that isn't even yours? Well, that's exactly what happened to the unfortunate driver of this $200,000 plus Ferrari California while it was out on a test drive around Maranello, Italy. Turning left at an intersection, the driver floors the throttle to speed away in dramatic fashion. Unfortunately, when you floor the throttle mid-corner in a rear-wheel drive car, the back end rotates around, causing the car to skid. Evidently, this isn't a very skilled driver, as he is unable to countersteer and correct the skid in time, resulting in the Ferrari driving headfirst into a wall. Corny driver crashes a Lamborghini Huracan. A classic case of trying hard to show off and running out of talent, this young supercar owner's day ended badly. Following a supercar event in central London, the owner of this gorgeous $280,000 Lamborghini Huracan Performante decided that a crowded urban street would be the perfect place to try out the launch control on the Lamborghini. As expected, it all went wrong. the driver lost control and veered across the road, smacking into a wall and a tree in one disgraceful movement. Clearly, this owner has more money than sense. Though, thankfully no one was hurt and hopefully the driver has learned their lesson. I hope you are enjoying this video so far. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. This driver nearly required more than one hearse. Overtaking on a narrow road is never a good idea. But this driver takes it one step further by overtaking when there was traffic turning right across the road ahead. To make matters worse, the driver of the red SUV not only overtook dangerously, but nearly plowed at a considerable speed into the side of a thankfully unladen hearse. Had they been a second or two slower, the hearse may well have been needed for those caught up in the prevailing accident. Thankfully, the crash was avoided, but watching the footage will make you gasp at how close it was to disaster. Stupid driver crashes McLaren 720S into parked Audi R8. Crashing a supercar is bad enough on its own, but crashing one supercar into another is a nightmare. Given that the 720S retails upwards from $301,000 and the R8 from around $258,000, this is one expensive collision. Unfortunately, that is exactly what happened here. It seems that the driver of the 720S was eager to show off its performance along what appears to be a side street in Toronto. But clearly, they didn't appreciate the force that the McLaren would launch forward at. Having lost control of the McLaren, the driver then spins into an unsuspecting parked Audi R8. Thankfully, everyone walked away apparently unhurt from the crash, but both cars were totally wrecked, and the driver's ego probably wasn't in the best shape either. How did this driver ever earn their license? What begins as a silly but harmless maneuver quickly escalates into a full-on accident. The driver of this red sedan caught up to the camera car in a last-ditch attempt to exit the freeway, cutting across 2 lanes of traffic in the process. While that was a pretty stupid thing to do, it seems the driver is either distracted, running from someone, or DUI, as they then leave the road and fly into a field due to misjudging the corner ahead of them. Thankfully, it seems like a fairly minor incident, but the cause of the lady's erratic driving remains unknown. Police can be bad drivers too. Just to prove that emergency services aren't all angels on the road, it seems that the driver of this police car in Kent, England, chose to play the power card, forcing the oncoming driver backward. While this is only a minor indiscretion, but there are a number of different spaces for the police car to pull in. Not to mention, they could have waited another 30 seconds or so for the car to pass before pulling out of their parking space. That's all for today, folks. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to Couch Surfers so you can join the Couch Surfers squad and be a part of the channel. Thanks for watching the video. See you next time.